By 1850, thousands of people from every walk of life across Persia had become Bábís, and the authorities decided that the only way to stop this new religion was to execute the Báb. And so it was decreed that on July the 9th, 1850, the Báb was to be executed by firing squad. The Báb was imprisoned in Tabríz with some of his followers. Among them was a young man named Anis, who begged to be allowed to die with his beloved. On the morning of the 9th of July, the Báb was calmly dictating to his secretary when the head attendant of the prison announced that it was time for the execution. Though he wasn't finished, he agreed to go, saying to the attendant, "Not until I have said to him all those things that I wish to say, can any earthly power silence me. Though all the world be armed against me, yet shall it be powerless to deter me from fulfilling to the last word my intention." The Báb and Anis were led in chains to the barrack square, with thousands of spectators crowding the rooftops all around. Sam Khan, the colonel of the regiment, who had been ordered to carry out the execution, explained to the Báb that he was a Christian and had no desire to execute an innocent man. The Báb told him not to worry. Follow your instructions, and if your intention be sincere, the Almighty is surely able to relieve you of your perplexity. A spike was driven into a pillar, and 2 ropes were fastened to it from which the Báb and Anis were suspended. Sam Khan gave the order, and his regiment opened fire. As the dense smoke from the rifles cleared, the bewildered spectators could see that Anis stood there, unhurt, and that the Báb had vanished. This remarkable occurrence was reported on by a number of foreign journalists and diplomats. On July 22, 1850, the British minister in Persia, Lieutenant Colonel Shield, described the scene in his report to Lord Palmerston, the British Foreign Secretary. When the smoke and dust cleared away after the volley, Báb was not to be seen, and the populace proclaimed that he had ascended to the skies. A frenzied search soon found the Báb in his cell, calmly completing his business with his secretary. "I have finished my conversation with Syed Hussein. Now you may proceed to fulfill your intention." The chief attendant remembered their earlier conversation and immediately resigned his post. Sam Khan also remembered the words of the Báb and ordered his men to leave the barracks immediately. Another group of soldiers arrived, and the Báb and Anis were once again suspended together on the wall. The new regiment opened fire, and this time they were killed. Their bodies were torn apart by bullets, but their faces were largely unmarked. The authorities threw their mangled bodies outside the gates of the city in the hope that they would be devoured by wild animals. But that night the bodies of the Báb and Anis were secretly rescued by the Bábís. Their bodies were lovingly preserved and hidden. In 1909, they were finally interred in what is now known as the Shrine of the Báb on Mount Carmel in Israel. The execution of the Báb on July the 9th, 1850, wasn't the ending envisaged by his persecutors, because, as the first of the twin manifestations of God, the Báb had opened the way for him whom God shall make manifest. And so, the execution of the Báb was simply the end of the beginning.